Oh, okay. I guess there's no better time to talk about why autistic and ADHD, neurodivergent burnout, is different than regular burnout than when my kids are on spring break and I am feeling burned out. How do we want to talk about burnout? I feel like burnout has officially entered the therapy speak portion of its lifetime, which is unfortunate because burnout is an actual real thing. I remember watching on VH1 Behind the Music when I was in later elementary, early junior high, and seeing people seeing celebrities share being diagnosed with fatigue, and then she couldn't work for a couple of years, and being oh, that's burnout. But everybody talked about it as a very weird, mysterious thing that no one quite understood. And then as an adult, I'm oh, it's duh, that's clinical burnout. She was so fatigued she couldn't get out of bed in the morning. We know what that is. So it's wild as a person who has experienced neurodivergent burnout to explain it, because I know what burnout feels like from a career standpoint, right? I know how it feels to be overworked and how it feels to not want to show up to a job. It's really difficult to try and explain to people how neurodivergent burnout is different, because it's a type of fatigue and exhaustion that rest doesn't touch. I constantly would feel tired. I had this spot on the couch that became my best friend, where it was if I could just crawl and get to that spot, but then I would get in couch lock and not be able to get up until I had to pick my kids up from school, which was the hard stop and my hard line of, okay, you've got to get up and function and be a person. So we're going to talk today about a few ways that neurodivergent burnout, specifically autistic burnout, is different. So one of the most prevalent things about autistic burnout is that when we define it, it's a difference between internal expectations and external capabilities and being able to execute on those functions. For example, right now I am experiencing a lot of the frustration of figuring out how do I want to structure my career based on the knowledge that I know I couldn't actually ever function the way that I functioned before as a professional. I was just forcing myself to white knuckle through it, and my brain is done compensating that way. It doesn't want to do that anymore. One of the leading researchers that speaks on this characterizes this autistic burnout as lasting longer than 3 months, and it being characterized by a couple of things. It's characterized by exhaustion, loss of function, and reduced tolerance of external stimuli. All that means is autistic burnout includes being fully exhausted, that you can't replete, you can't replenish, and loss of function, that you can't do things you formerly could do, and reduced tolerance of stimuli is you're more irritable toward certain stimuli. So noises or textures or food textures or the way things taste, or avoiding certain situations where you used to be able to tolerate, going to the movies, and now it's too loud, it's too many people, it's too much. That would be an example of reduced tolerance to stimuli. Part of the problem with understanding autistic burnout is that a lot of late diagnosed people have a really hard time understanding how it's different than regular burnout, because this is just always how their brain has functioned, or once they reach this level of fatigue or exhaustion was just how their life was, and they feel very much stuck of, no, this is just how I am now, and I guess that I just need to get used to the idea that I am this kind of exhausted all the time, because we normalize the exhaustion, but also invalidate how autistic burnout is specific from regular chronic burnout. And the reason autistic burnout has to be addressed is because it can impact multiple areas of your life. And when you notice it starts to bleed into one, if it's not addressed, it will start to bleed into other areas as well, like relationships, or being able to be social and have friends, or being able, whether or not it started at your workplace or in your work. It can just be pretty far reaching if we don't figure out how to accommodate it or to get the proper support for it. One of the books that I recommend to all of my clients that's been an invaluable resource is this book, The Autistic Burnout Workbook by Dr. Megan F., who is herself AuDHD. This book not only takes you through what autistic burnout is, but it takes you through creating your own sensory checklists. It helps you to figure out what your window of tolerance is, and that means how big your window of tolerance is in terms of, if we go outside our window of tolerance, we go into hyper arousal, which looks like anxiety, stress, irritability, anger. And if we can also go into hypoarousal when we're outside our window of tolerance, which is depression, fatigue, disinterest in things that we used to find interest in, depression, those kinds of things. Our window of tolerance when we are burned out is so small, it's almost non-existent. So when we're cruising along, I don't know, first thing out of bed, if our partner makes a noise that really grates on us, normally our reaction can be huge and it can bump us straight up out of our window of tolerance, right? So determining what your window of tolerance is and where you're at can be really helpful in trying to figure out what kind of support do I need and how do I need to be gentle with myself and accommodate myself today. But this workbook has a lot of exercises toward that end of being able to map your nervous system, being able to know what resources or tools you need in any given moment in order to provide positive sensory input for yourself to help your nervous system feel safe and calm, and what it looks like to rest as an autistic person. Burnout can be really frustrating if you have entered into your adult life with an autism diagnosis or realization, because capitalism requires of us that we just keep going. And so a lot of times we have this internalized message of, if we're late diagnosed, we have this internalized message of, I'm just not trying hard enough, or I just don't have the right thing that's going to make me like most optimally productive. And for autistic people, that's not the case. Like, it's like trying to drive a car that has been on an empty gauge for a really long time and being like, I don't know, maybe I need to change the tires. And it's, you can change the tires, like that would make the car look cool on the outside or it look like it was maintained, but it's not going to address the actual issue. And so for late diagnosed people, even just understanding that burnout functions differently can be really helpful in figuring out, okay, where do I even start with this? Because I'm getting 8 hours of sleep at night, or I think I'm eating the way I'm supposed to be eating, or I'm taking walks and I'm physically active and I'm doing all of the things that like quote unquote should be helping and or should be fixing, right, my burnout. And one of the most frustrating things about tending to autistic burnout is that it's a process. It takes time and it takes being really patient with ourselves, which living in a capitalist society does not lend itself toward kindness and understanding for how we function. So with that said, I've created a couple of groups that I run that are psychoeducational groups, so anybody can join. You don't have to be in a specific state in order to be able to join these groups. One is a burnout and unmasking skills group for late diagnosed or late identified neurodivergent adults, where we talk about what it's like to be in burnout. We talk about unmasking and when that's helpful and when it's not helpful, or what that is. What does it look like for you in certain situations? I also have a group called Am I Autistic? That is where we, as a group, go through all of the autism screeners. If you're an adult, finding someone who will do a clinical evaluation for you can be really difficult. And I created this group in order to, one, make it more affordable, because those can be cost prohibitive for many people. And then also to be able to go through in a group the screeners and have clinical conversations with a clinician, about what does this look like, or I experienced this, does that count? We deal with the invalidation of, I don't want to take up space with people that I don't want to take up place in a space where like if I don't really need it. I have a lot of clients who experience a lot of self-doubt that way. I'm not really sure if they belong, but they feel different. So we talk about those things. I also have another group that is Parenting While Neurodivergent, to provide support and skills and psychoeducation to parents who are neurodivergent, who may or may not be parenting neurodivergent children, and coming to terms with late diagnosis or late realization and what that means for them going forward and how it affects how they parent day to day. And then I have one last group that is a drop-in parent support group. It's a little bit cheaper than my other classes because it's not a psychoeducational group. It's just a drop-in parent support group where I have a light topic where I start with a couple of questions and then let the participants talk to each other and build that rapport with each other and talk about whatever comes up. So if any of those are interesting to you, April 13th, the week of April 13th is when they start. You can go to the link in the description, has the link to schedule an intake or to schedule a free consult with me to see if it's a fit. Let me know in the comments what else you would like to see content on, because I'm open to anything.